Data, data, data. How can you take advantage of understanding numbers and make some money along the way in the NFT space?
Today, we are interviewing one of the best NFT community builders and data analysts out there. Zeneca_33 is his Twitter handle. His name is Roy. We're going through his process, how he thinks about the market, and how he went from Poker Pro to NFT Pro almost overnight. So stay tuned to Goats and the Metaverse, the only weekly show that goes deep into the world of collectibles and NFTs. Stanley, how are you, my man?
Welcome to another wonderful week in the collectible world, in the NFT world. Lots of exciting things happening. Before we get into them, let's talk about our favorite part of the show, the Goat Vault.
You know, you always make me do the Goat Vault. I think it's your time to tell people about the Goat Vault, what it is, and why they should be excited about it.
The Goat Vault. All right. So we are buying NFTs with our own money, putting in about 10 grand of our own personal dollars, or Ethereum in this case. And we're about a third of the way there. We put in about $3,500. And that $3,500 to date is worth $33,888 US dollars. Don't ask me for an ETH conversion. We're down a few bucks from last week. What happens is if you subscribe to Goats in the Metaverse, you automatically get entered for a chance to win one of the NFTs in our Goat Vault, which we open up at 5,000 subscribers and give it away to you. And
I see our vote went down because we didn't add anything into the vault this week. We are failing our community, Stanley. What's going on?
We're bad people and we apologize. But you know what? We're going to make it up to them. We have Zeneca on the show. We're going to go deep into some data. We're going to try to find a few winners along the way and buy a few NFTs for next week and throw them into the Goat Vault.
I like it.
Make sure you subscribe. Tell your mama, tell your father, tell your baby, daddy, whoever. Share the show. And let's get it up to 5,000 subscribers. What's happening in the crypto world today, Yossi? Or as Gabriella likes to call you, Jossi?
Jossi. Crypto world is seeing a little bit of volatility, and what's happening in the NFT crypto world in the past week is a lot of things have gone down.
What?
We're not used to it. Like things going down. What's happening over here?
The world's coming to an end. Sell everything. Get out now. Not financial advice.
Only 2 out of the top 10 had some positive price movement in the past 7 days. That's the Sevens project I didn't know about until I saw it on Crypto Slam, so I missed out on that one. And Cool Cat still holding out strong. That's been our major mover in the Goat Vault as well. Our Cool Cat, I think, is worth about 5.5 Ethereum, but almost $17,000. So Cool Cat still going in strong, but the rest of the market is down. We're seeing some price pressure across the board, and I think that's to be expected when we see so much excitement, so much price movement in such a short period of time. People want to take their profits. People want to sell out, take some money, reallocate, and see what's going to happen in this space.
Well, for all the naysayers that say the market is down, we did have a few things happen in the last week. Sotheby's Bored Ape collection sold for about 24 million and change. So that's still happening. An ape sold for 740 Ethereum. Is that correct?
$7 million. That is correct. The Sandbox game bought the ape. They called it the Captain. They're putting it within the Sandbox game universe, and they're putting a whole game together and a whole strategy that they announced and tweeted about why they bought this ape and why they're bringing it into the Sandbox game, and their intention to buy other NFTs and bring it into the Sandbox game. So interesting to see a metaverse play coming from Sandbox, buying up some iconic NFTs, and incorporating it into their game. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for the entire NFT ecosystem as they go and do that. Will they be like Christie's, bringing their product on auction, and we'll see floor prices climbing as soon as that happens? So when Sandbox buys an NFT, is that what we see happening on the floor price of that community? Yet to be seen, but I think there's some interesting stuff to be watching out of Sandbox.
Well, I know who is very happy. Boofy, whoever that is, made about 340 Ethereum in a month. So kudos to Boofy on the big W. Also, what we didn't see on the Crypto Slam chart, VCon was announced. Ooh. And the price went up and up and up and up and up, happening May 19th to 22nd in Minneapolis, Minnesota at the new football stadium, which is really cool. I believe the price was sitting around 14, 15 ETH.
It's now 18.5.
Well, it touched 25 ETH this morning.
Oh, wow.
When GV teased a big teaser and said, I'm going on CNN. Some of you guys make your announcements on Twitter. Some of you guys make your announcements on Discord. I'm going to go on CNN and make an announcement. And his announcement is he's taking 5 of his original pieces and auctioning it off on Christie's. What do you think about that?
You know, I think it is hard to underestimate Gary Vee. What he said he's going to do, he has been doing. He has been building his community. He has made his NFT collectors a lot of money. So I think it's very hard for anyone to be upset with what Gary Vee's been doing in the space. And he seems to be almost everywhere. He's in the Discord groups. He's starting new companies. He's launching his product. He's building VCon. He must have a team of 50 to 60 people behind him, because the guy otherwise just can't be sleeping. He's everywhere and anywhere in the NFT space. So kudos to him. I'm pretty impressed with what VeeFriends has been able to achieve, and Gary Vee himself. And
just a reminder to all of you NFTers out there, you could have bought at launch on May 16th of VeeFriend for half Ethereum, and they were sitting there. There was plenty of them out there. You could have bought them. I believe Ethereum was closer to $4,000 at that point, so it would have cost you about $2,000 to get in. And if, let's say, you flipped it this morning or this morning at 25 Ethereum, that's a big profit. And from what I see in the community, there's a lot of holders out there. There's a lot of people that are actually holding. They believe in GV. They believe in what's going to happen, what's going to come. And the flippers were disappointed around the announcement. They thought bigger things were coming and that floor was going to continue to rise. After the announcement was made, it dipped immediately down to 20. I believe it's sitting somewhere around 18, but the long-term holders are obviously winning in that scenario. So yeah, just another quiet week in the NFT space. Lots to talk about, and I know we usually go much deeper onto new projects that are happening, but since we do have a special guest today, I think we should bring him right in. Let's throw Zeneca into the mix and get crazy. Zeneca, Roy, what's up, buddy?
Hello. Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you on.
Good to have a similar accent on our show. Welcome.
Thank you.
For the people who don't know you, maybe it could be good just to get a little bit of your background, how you got into this world. I know you used to be a poker pro, and now you're an NFT pro. Just want to hear a little bit of your backstory. That would be great.
Sure. So yeah, as you said, I was a professional poker player it was basically 15 years. So I went from high school to that. I went to university, but dropped out because of poker. And yeah, I don't think it's that uncommon. There are a lot of poker players that have made the transition from poker to crypto and NFTs as an extension from that. So I first got into crypto in 2016, 2017, like a lot of people. And it was, I guess, my first foray. It was fun and, crazy, the ride up and then the ride down. And when the bear market hit, I sort of forgot about it and went back to poker. And then end of last year, started this year, as things were heating up again and everyone else was getting back into crypto, I also got back into it and I started hearing about NFTs. And at first I thought, I had some friends who were getting into it, and I was hearing about how they were spending thousands of dollars on these JPEGs, and I was thinking they're getting totally scammed. They're getting deeper into this Ponzi scheme. What are they doing? And I completely dismissed it. And eventually I came around because they're smart people. So I decided, they're probably not getting scammed. There's probably something to this. So I did some research, read some articles, and at some point it just sort of clicked. And I realized, hey, there's something here. I want to research more, investigate more, figure out what's going on. And I haven't really looked back. It's just been a wild 6 months now, I think. Yeah.
Which in the NFT world is like 10 years.
It really is. It really is.
When you say there's something here, what was that something here that you saw?
True digital ownership. It's just not a thing that has really existed before in the way that NFTs can make it exist. And I started seeing how it could apply to not just art, but like gaming. And I mean, that was probably the biggest one to me, because I know how much money people will spend on video games, on skins, on various assets, and on microtransactions on their phones. And 99% of the time, it's just money down the drain or money into the pockets of the company that is behind it. Where with NFTs, you can own the asset, you could resell it, you could take it into another game, you could essentially do whatever you want with it. And knowing how much money is in gaming and just that particular use case really hooked me. And then I started looking at all these other projects and just getting deeper and deeper into, profile picture, avatar projects, art. But one of the biggest ones for me early on was Zedrun, because of the gaming aspect that hooked me, and I was just crazy about it for a long time.
So was that the first NFT you bought?
No. So I think actually the very first NFT I bought was an AI art house NFT. So it was basically art created by AI, and where they fed it a bunch of classical paintings by Monet, whoever, and it just produced this art and then minted them as NFTs. I think they were originally just selling physical prints, but then they thought it was a cool use for NFTs, and they did that, and I thought it was really cool. Bought in, and I'm pretty sure I didn't make any profit off of them. Maybe small profit, but I actually had one of them sell like a month ago, which was just a blast from the past, because I had it listed 6 months ago and forgot about it, and then it sold. I was like, what? Why? I still haven't gotten to the bottom of it, why they were running all of a sudden, but maybe they're mooning now for some reason or another. But that was the first, and I remember really, really wanting a crypto voxel plot. That was one of my big goals early on, and I think a month or two in, I eventually got one for one ETH. It was a really good deal. I've since sold it because I needed liquidity later on. As NFTs go, it's always a juggling game for liquidity. But yeah, that was sort of how I got my start. And I got in on one of the Z drops in, I think, early April or end of May or something. And it was the one. No, actually, I can't remember exactly which one it was, but I got really lucky to get a winning horse out of it, and then I just raced the heck out of that horse for a month or two, and yeah, that was fun.
So what's your favorite NFT?
Oh, that's not a question I think I've been asked before or really had to think about. I mean, the easy / obvious answer would be my Fidenza, because that's just such a holy grail of an NFT, and it's one that I minted and have kept. But I mean, I love it, but it might not be my favorite. I don't know what my favorite is. I'll get back to you by the end of the episode.
So now you minted a Fidenza. You see pricing of these Fidenzas going through the roof. How do you think about hold versus sell, and whether you should be cashing out, or this is going to be something that stands the test of time and be worth multiples from here? What's the thought process?
So Fidenzas is an interesting case for me, because I minted 4 of them, and I sold 3 for under 1 Ethereum each, like 0.5, 0.7 or whatever. And at the time, obviously, I was like pretty happy. This is a reasonable flip. They minted for 0.17, and my bankroll was quite small at the time. But pretty quickly, they went to like a floor of 1, 1.5, 4, 6, 10, 12, and they kept running up. But I basically said that since I've sold 3, I'm just going to hold on to my other one, for dear life. I'm not letting it go. And that's basically where I've gotten now. And it was fortunately never at a point where I desperately needed the liquidity or the money for selling a Fidenza. I was always able to sell something else or get money from somewhere else if I wanted to buy something. So yeah, it just got to the point where I just don't want to sell it, basically.
So Two questions. One, how many times in the middle of the night do you get up having nightmares that you sold your 3 Fidenzas for about an Eve? And the follow-up question is, what made you buy a Fidenza? How did you end up there?
So to answer your first question, lately not at all, but I think in the first maybe month where I was going truly crazy, I probably didn't wake up in the middle of the night, but it was definitely, eating at me a little bit that I had sold 3 of them, and I saw them get going so high in price because my bankroll was not very large at the time, and it would have been great to be able to sell another one for 10 ETH or whatever. But now it's water off my back. I'm incredibly blessed to just have one Fidenza, and I don't really think about the other 3 anymore. It actually, for the longest time, when one would sell and I'd see it like in the Art Blocks Discord sales bot feed or whatever, and if it looked like one of the ones that I'd sold, I wouldn't click on it because I didn't want to see that I'd sold it. But over this last month, I started not caring about that, and I saw that one of the ones I sold recently sold for like 200 plus ETH, and I think I was able to like not care too much, so that's a good sign. And as for how did I get to be minting Fidenza in the first place, basically I was introduced to Art Blocks pretty early on. I think it might have been March even. And I minted a few things, Aerial View and Hieroglyphs were my first 2, I think. And they didn't really do well. I think they didn't sell out immediately, and the secondary market prices didn't really take off at all up until, the recent craziness. So I was in early, but I wasn't like obsessed with Art Blocks at the time. But then I saw that there were other curated drops happening, and then frequently they would immediately sell for like 2, 3, 4, 5x on the secondary market. And so I just got into the habit of minting every curated drop basically. And I wasn't really doing much of minting playground or factory drops. So Art Blocks is split into 3 tiers. There's curated, which is top tier. It's has to pass curation. There's a board of people that approve them, and it's just the strictest and generally highest quality. And then there's Playground, which is basically an area where any artist who's passed curation can release their drops in that section. And then there's Factory, which is like another tier, which is less strict for artists to release into. And so I basically just stuck to the curated sets drops because they were just the most prestigious, and my bankroll was not that large at the time. And I was generally minting 1 to 4 per drop, and then trying to flip 2 or 3 of them and hold on to one just because I needed the liquidity. I couldn't hold them all. And yeah, basically same thing happened with Fidenza. I minted 4, flipped 3, held 1, and eventually got to the point where I could start holding more pieces and not having to flip as many, just because I became to be more and more bullish on Art Blocks long term. And now most significant part of my portfolio, NFT portfolio by far, is all Art Block stuff.
Now, what do you think of, we've had a few sales of the generative art pieces that have been on Art Blocks come up, and we talk about the numbers, and I'm not sure we get what the excitement on generative art is, or at least the level of excitement it is. How do you see it? Why do you think it's become such a sensation within the NFT community when it took quite a while to get there?
I think that it's sort of a really excellent use case of blockchain technology, where you can have this. Sorry, my dog's just coming up here. You can have this algorithm essentially create a piece of art in real time on the blockchain based on a transaction that a user puts in. So it involves the user, the customer, whatever you want to call it, the buyer, in the minting process. So the artist creates a piece of code, uploads it to the blockchain, and then the user clicks the mint button, and their transaction hash, so their Ethereum transaction, is fed into the algorithm. And because of the way that the code works, that then creates a piece of art. And the art that's created, no one has seen before. The artist hasn't seen it before. The person buying it doesn't know exactly what they're getting. It's like a lottery. A lot of people describe it as sort of like an Art Blocks vending machine, on just a generative art vending machine, I guess. It's not specific to Art Blocks. And so the artist, obviously, it takes tremendous skill to create a piece of code that can take in an input and then spit out varied pieces of art. So Fidenza, 999 pieces, and to have them look good and distinct from one another. So no two people get the same piece or pieces that look kind of the same. It's just very difficult, and they have to be really good at what they do. And I think that value is, I guess, appreciated by more and more people. The traditional art community is starting to see value in it, just because a lot of the stuff looks good from an artistic point of view. Some of it doesn't. Some of it, well, I wouldn't say doesn't, but some of it is good generative art. But the truly excellent pieces like Fidenza is just good art, I think. And then it's just good art that happens to be generated by code. And that just makes it next level all the more impressive. And yeah, I guess more and more people are appreciating it. I really think that we're sort of in the nascent early days of an art revolution. Like, it's a lot of people that never cared. Like, I didn't really care that much about art 6 months ago, a year ago. If you told me that I'd be an art collector buying and selling art, I have an art, I would have called you crazy. But and when I first got into art blocks, my first what was on my mind wasn't the art. I was thinking about flipping it, making money and profit. But I have really come to love the art, and there's certain pieces like my Fidenza. I'm now not selling it. I could get $500,000 for it, but it's just, I love it, and there are many pieces in my collection that I feel that way about, and I'm far from alone. Like, just talking to other people, so many people talk about their art blocks pieces with a level of affection that they generally don't talk about many of their other NFTs about. Like, no one's talking about loving their, I mean, even the ape. Like, a lot of people love apes, a lot. The community is very strong, but it is not necessarily something that a lot of people want to print and show in their house and show off to friends. It's more of the community utility aspect, I think, rather than the artistic aspect. And then you look at a lot of other profile picture projects, and it's essentially more about the utility and the community and that kind of stuff. Whereas art blocks, there's just something different, to me at least, or generative art, I guess. It's about the art. People are talking about hanging them in their house and appreciating them. And yeah, it's just something different, and it's cool to see. And I mean, I don't think anyone could have expected the prices that we're seeing, like 1,000 ETH for a Fidenza or 1,800 ETH for that Ringer sale a few weeks ago.
Definitely.
They're just mind-blowing. But then again, no one could have predicted an ape would have sold for 740 ETH, or punks are going for so much. It's all crazy. It's just all crazy, man. So I think art blocks are just getting caught up in the crazy.
And I think if you ask, how do you know you love something? It's worth $500,000 and you're not selling it. Well,
yeah.
If there's no testimony for love there, then I don't know what is. Stanley, go ahead.
Especially when you bought it for a few grand or whatever you paid
0.17 ETH, so $500 maybe.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So one thing that I've noticed is that a lot of people that are in the communities, that are in the space, that were buying the profile picture projects are now stepping in and saying, hey, 90% of these, 95% of these things will not be around. And they are buying a lot of art. They're moving into, art blocks. They're buying X copy. They're looking at new projects. They're looking at OG artists. What is that your belief? Do you believe that, kind of more and more of the community on a daily basis is going to take, let's say, the profit off their Bored Ape that they sold and made 300, 400, ETH or 2 ETH and start putting it into our projects?
I think we're seeing, and we have been seeing a lot of, sort of that phenomenon where people would flip these profile picture projects and take the money, but not just put it into art blocks. I think they're putting it into what people consider to be the blue chip projects. So I would say art blocks, apes, debatably in there, punks, Zed horses, maybe Sandbox, Metaverse Land, projects that have been around for a while, that look like they're going to be around for a while, and are just quote unquote safer than an avatar project that launched last week and that you've made 10x on, or 2x even. Like, it's, people are taking their profits and largely putting them into these blue chip projects. And I think that's led to the increase in price in a lot of them. I think I probably disagree with most people who are saying, because most people do say that 95% of these avatar projects are not going to be around. I agree that most won't be, but I guess I'm a bit more optimistic. I think maybe 70% won't be around, or 75%. So it's still a lot, but I think that we're seeing so many new people flood into the space. And yes, there are a lot of avatar projects popping up on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and the supply is huge, but these new people see apes, see punks, see cool cats. They want to be part of a community. They can't afford those ones. They find a more affordable one and they latch on, create a community amongst themselves. Their price goes up and then they become into the next tier. And then that becomes unaffordable for new people. And then, new people flood into a new community. So, we've seen that, like cool cats, they were cheap for the longest time. Well, not for the longest time, but they minted at 0.02. That was very cheap. And then, they were, maybe a few $100s could get you a cool cat. And then now they're 5 ETH or something. And we've seen that with maybe a dozen or 2 dozen projects now. And I think we're going to continue to see good projects with good teams and good communities rise to the top. And yes, some people will be taking profits from those and putting them into art blocks and putting them into other projects. But a lot of them, I think, will still survive.
So follow-up question, because we have a question from our audience, and it's something that I personally get asked on a daily basis. What are a couple tips you would give to people getting involved in the NFT space right now? And especially somebody once just starting out and, assuming that person's spending less than 1 Ethereum, which was another question asked in the audience. You're a data guy. You put out great information. What should people really be looking at? Where they should be looking at?
I mean, I think the first piece of advice is to not rush in. I mean, it's really tempting to see people post about the gains they're making on Twitter, on YouTube, just everywhere. People talk about making crazy profits. And yes, there is crazy profits to be made and there are a lot of opportunities, but they're not going anywhere. We're still very, very early. There's going to be opportunities for a long time. So I would say just spend some time reading lots, joining lots of Discords, following lots of people on Twitter, trying to understand the space, get a feel for it a little bit. The learning curve is so incredibly steep that it's very difficult to just jump in after even a week of being around NFTs. I know that the desire is there to buy something, to have an NFT. It's very exciting to buy an NFT, to have an NFT. But in all likelihood, unfortunately, for most people, their first experiences with NFTs are not going to be profitable. They're going to buy something, it'll go down in value. Potentially it's a scam or a rug pull, or it's just not going to 2x or whatever in a while, and floor might go down. They might panic and sell, and they're going to lose money in gas transactions, and there's just going to be mistakes made, and it's just the price of being early, I think, and the cost of tuition to get involved with the Ethereum network and NFTs and even DeFi. Even you're going to make some mistakes. And I guess understanding that and realizing that and accepting that is, if you go in with that mindset of being okay with losing a few $100s to transactions or a mistake here and there, it's a better mindset. And I understand that that's not possible for everyone. If your whole bankroll is only $1,000, 0.3 ETH or something, I'd say maybe save up and just wait until you can afford more, or look at non-Ethereum chains, so like Solana or Tezos, where gas costs are less than $1, and so then you can play around. You can get to understand how this all works. Maybe use a Web3 wallet without risking huge gas fees, and you could buy an NFT on Tezos for like 0.1 Tezos, which is 70 cents or something. So those are options just to sort of get your feet wet. And the other thing is that you can genuinely start from zero in the space. If you have the time, just follow tons of people on Twitter, join lots of Discords. People are giving away NFTs left, right, and center. Just join raffles, join giveaways here, there, everywhere. Eventually you'll win one.
To the goat vault.
I was just about to say that.
Exactly. There's so many opportunities, and I've given away some myself. You guys are giving some away. I have friends and people I know that have won them. So it's not just, a lot of people say it's fake and people just do it to get followers. No, people are actually giving away NFTs worth hundreds, thousands of dollars. I gave away a World of Women that was worth 1.5 ETH or something, because at the time I minted 80 of them, and I said, I'll give one away, and announced it on another YouTube show. Because they asked me, do you have something to give away? Yeah, sure, 0.08. And then by the time they came to giving away, it was worth 1.5 ETH. And the person who won it was so incredibly happy. It was just really a good, warm feeling for all involved. And, those of us who have been fortunate to have success in this space, we're happy to give back, just because we know that it's a growing space and we want more people to get involved and to have a good taste in their mouth, because it is difficult and there is a steep learning curve. A lot of us, we try to do what we can to give back. And So, I mean, there are a lot of things you can do starting from zero, starting with a small bankroll, trying other chains. There's like layer 2 solutions on Ethereum, like a Polygon, which is sort of a gasless network. Basically, if you do research, watch YouTube videos, find out more about how it all works, you'll find opportunities with low bankrolls as well. But yeah, I guess just don't rush.
So speaking of not rushing and giving back, you, or at least how I found out about you, was the research that you started sharing and releasing, the daily floor prices and your analysis. What prompted starting that? And then I'd love for us to bring it up on the screen and just see how you think about it. What is the process? What are you looking for when you see your own daily floor chart? What is the things that are giving you insight? And, what would you do with the information if someone's subscribing to your newsletter and following you on Twitter? They see this on a day-to-day basis. How should they be thinking about it?
Sure. So what it started it all was basically I was getting more into flipping NFTs, buying, selling, trading. And I just, for my own knowledge, I wanted to track the floor prices of the projects that I had bought. And, I wanted to see what the price was yesterday, what it is today, how they're trending, how they're tracking. And so I just started this little Google sheet and I was tracking it with myself. And then I shared it with a couple of friends and they found it very useful. And I just had the idea, hey, maybe I'll just tweet this one day because maybe other people would find it useful. And just the reception I got on the very first tweet was very overwhelming. People loved to see it and they were like, hey, this is great. I want more of this. And it just turned into this thing where I ended up every day updating the full price, tweeting it out, and then adding new projects. And as more and more projects were released, as you can see on the screen now, there's, I think, 100 plus projects that I'm tracking. And I'm actively having to remove projects from the chart because, I mean, there's just new ones popping up every single day. It's difficult to track all of them.
Are you doing this manually?
Yeah.
Wow.
So basically, I have off screen from the spreadsheet, I have like 110 whatever links, and I just click on them individually, go to OpenSea collection page, and yeah, I'll just look at the floor price, add it in, look at how many are for sale, add it in. And there are automated websites that do all this, and I could be using them, but I've tried a couple times, and basically a lot of the times the information is just wrong because OpenSea is buggy, the API is buggy, the website has an issue, it's slow, it's not updated, there's a glitched listing that's keeping anyway, there's a lot of things that go wrong with an automated version. But also I found that if I do it like just copy paste the data in automated, I don't feel as in tune with the market as when I'm doing it manually and checking all the prices, because then I get to see, oh, okay, so this one's listed for floor, what are the 5 above it listed for? Is there a sharp a thin floor, and is it like if the bottom 3 sales, the floor going to go up 2x, or is there a really thick floor where there's 20 listed at the full price and it's very difficult for it to go up? And so I feel really in tune with the market doing this, and this is a way that I get my research in. I like to see trends of what's going up, what's going down, what things were a few days ago, and all that kind of stuff. But I understand that not everyone has this time. So, I mean, that's obviously why a lot of people appreciate that I put these stats out there. They look at them and they can get like a snapshot view of the market and where things are, especially for the projects that they're interested in. And yeah, I mean, I think just the way I would use this information is to look at which projects are going up lots. And if something spiked a ton, there's a reason for that. So then you can look into join their Discord or like check their Twitter page, see have they made any big announcements lately? Why is the price going up? Or if it's dropped sharply, why has the price dropped? And you want to look at the reason behind the numbers, because there's always a reason, whether it's they've announced an airdrop or like a companion drop, or there's a Christie's auction coming up. There's always a reason. And it could just be that some influencer on Twitter started hyping it up, but there's generally always a reason. And understanding where that reason's coming from gets you more insight into why people are buying and selling certain things, and just keeping an eye on all of that on a daily basis and a weekly basis, doing it more and more. You just get that experience, get that feel for the market, and you can kind of start to tell, well, you just get like an instinct for how things are going to go, I think, or at least that's how it works for me. Another thing I look at is like the unique owners of a project, and that's to me probably even more of an important metric than the price, because price is going to go up and down based on very little things. Like, as I said, an influencer could tweet about a project and the price runs up and then it tanks down as people realize that they didn't buy in for any real reason, just because of hype. But if the number of unique owners is steadily trending upwards, it's a really strong sign for me that the community is strong, it's building, it's expanding. And as unique owners go up, essentially the effective supply available goes down for sale, because most people who buy into projects, they're looking to, maybe not most, but like a lot of people who buy into a project, they're looking to hold on to at least one of those NFTs long term. Like Bored Apes or Cool Cats are prime examples where people love that they use it as a Twitter profile picture. They've formed an identity, a bond with it. They're part of a community. They realize the value in community and power and how they keep adding things to their holders. And so they're like, all right, I have an ape. It's my forever ape. I'm not selling it. As more and more people do that, then they're essentially reducing the available supply, and supply and demand mechanics, econ 101, price goes up. So if you notice a project that you're tracking for perhaps a week or two where the unique owners is going up but the price is staying the same or dropping, then that's probably one of the most bullish signs for me to really look into buying that project. Like we saw with Cool Cats, I remember their price was around 0.5 to 0.7 for maybe 2 to 4 weeks, a long time. And they was getting tons of new owners. And so effectively, you have to think of why that's happening. And it's generally people who bought a bunch at cheap prices and now offloading them because they can realize a 20x profit if they minted it for 0.02. But there are plenty of people willing to buy. And so the people that are buying at, say, 0.5, they're not necessarily going to be looking to flip or sell at 0.6. A lot of them, they want to make a 5x profit or they want to hold long term. And so as that supply gets eaten up, as more and more people are buying in, then eventually it's going to run out. There's a finite supply, 10,000 in most cases. And of the 10,000, there's usually only 1,000 to 3,000 listed for sale. And so as that number goes down, eventually price is going to go up. And that is generally what happens.
So I hear you say, in the way you think about it, the things that you find are most valuable in your analysis while you're checking on a day-to-day basis is the number of unique owners, the the number of items that are at the floor price. So how big is that floor? How many have to be bought up in order for that floor price to be able to move? And those are probably kind of the two biggest that you're looking at. And then obviously the price movement. Is it moving up or is it moving down? But those two other factors are kind of the key ingredient that you're looking at to see those trends over time. Is that right? Have I missed anything?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I look at those two. Unique owners probably is number one for me. And yeah, I mean, it's always in conjunction with price because you can't separate price from the equation. But I think looking at just price alone doesn't really tell you much. You have to look at these other factors to get the big picture, or the full picture rather.
So Zeneca, you mentioned when an influencer, tweets something out, and obviously we have seen markets absolutely explode. How do you control that, right? I mean, you're a guy with 50,000+ followers on Twitter, and which is a lot in the NFT space. You're obviously giving your 2 cents on data and things like that. Are you careful? Are you thinking about how you kind of position certain tweets to not kind of be looked at as a pumper or dumper or as an influencer, or is there different ways of looking as yourself as an influencer?
Yeah, no, I try to be extremely conscientious about what I say and how I say it, because I realize that a lot of people read my tweets and can make financial decisions based on what I say, even though I tell people it's not financial advice, all the disclaimers, but people will still, think that if I say a project is great, there's going to be some amount of people that buy it. And then if 10, 20 people buy a project, price starts going up, more people will just jump on because they think it's going up. So I try to just present the stats and data. And then obviously I add some commentary on what I see happening, but I try and do it from as objective as a perspective as possible. I mean, there's no avoiding that there's going to be some amount of people that will buy and sell based on some of what I say. But I mean, I think that that's just unavoidable. There was one instance, I think 2 months ago or so, when the Pudgy Penguins made an announcement, or they had that New York Times article come out and penguins were exploding, going everywhere. And I made some tweet saying, you know, this is either going to be the smartest decision or dumbest decision I've ever made. And I just bought a bunch of penguins. And that was like the most controversial, quote unquote, tweet I've made, where it's the closest I've come to like supporting a project or like actively saying, hey, I'm buying this because I think it's a good investment. And I didn't really think about it at the time. I was just, you know, it was just a tweet. But after the fact, I thought, hey, you know, maybe I should avoid saying stuff like that, just because I don't want to be thought of as influence. I don't want to influence the market, you know.
Do you look at influencers? Do you pay attention to them? Do you see, you know, Beanie or Pranksy or GV or somebody making a statement about a project, and you start looking into it?
Yeah, no, definitely. It would be foolish, I think, to ignore them. They clearly have an impact on the market, and there's money to be made. You know, if they tweet something and you see it within 1 minute, you can buy something, and very likely it's going to run up. But often it's going to dump at a certain point. And whether it's orchestrated by any of the influencers, whether they intend it to be sort of a pump and dump type situation, or whether it's just, hey, they really like this project and they put the information out there and let the market do whatever it's going to do, it's impossible to know. Like, I'm sure that, some people out there with large Twitter followings are doing things where they tell their close friends and maybe a private Discord, hey, I'm going to tweet about this project, buy some now, and then in 2 days I'll pump it. I'm not saying any of the people that you mentioned are doing that. I suspect that they're not, but I think that there are others out there who would do stuff like that. Not naming any names, but I think that it's just something that anyone in the market needs to be cognizant of and aware of. When I wrote about this in my latest newsletter, actually, about how you should always think about where on the informational totem pole you are. So if you see someone on Twitter post about a project, if you want to buy that project, you're not like, it doesn't, you're usually not getting really good, fresh information. You're hearing about it after everyone else on Twitter who has read their tweet has read about it, after they've probably told their friends or close people. And it's just, be very cognizant about, if you're going to buy an NFT based on something you see on Twitter, have a game plan. You know, if it's something you were already looking to buy, maybe that's an extra sign. If you're just trying to do a really quick flip where you buy it quickly and then plan to sell it later on, that's at least a plan and you have a bit of action. But it's just something to be cognizant about, because it happens. Yeah.
Speaking of influencers, you wrote a in-depth piece on Punk's comics and went into the analysis on whether you should be staking or burning your comic. And Beanie is quite an influential person in the community, and obviously a big Punk's comics holder. What is your take on comics and where it's going? What did you do in terms of staking versus burning, and did that strategy work out? And what do you think of the recent kind of controversy around Beanie and B-Loot and everything that's happening?
We might be asking for our own benefit, not gonna
lie. The comics, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mentioned this in my Discord earlier today, that I need someone to write an article on what's happened in the comics over the last 2 months, because I think I wrote this 2 and a bit months ago, maybe just 2 months ago, and it's already so outdated. Like, this was before, so July to August. Yeah, 2 months ago, almost to the date. And they've added DAOs and then DAOs within DAOs, and then the meta hero companions. I've not stayed on top of it. It's just like, it's almost a full-time job to stay on top of it. So I really don't know what I ended up doing. I had 8 comics. I think I burned 3, and so I got 3 Founders Vault tokens. And then, honestly, I don't even know. I know that I ended with 5 mint passes, so I must have sold 3, right? No, because you only got, yeah. Anyway, I had 5 mint passes for a while, and then I redeemed 3 of them for meta heroes. 2 of that today. So now I have 2 mint passes, 3 meta heroes, 3 Founders Vault tokens, and 4 Punks comics. I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. And I'm going to be getting some DAO tokens. I'm going to be getting. I don't know.
What are you? I'm assuming you're bullish on the project. What?
Yeah, I'm bullish just because the team has proven the ability to create value on top of value on top of value for holders, and they found / are finding ways to allow new people into the ecosystem, which I think is really important, because a lot of these projects, we found that they have 10,000 of them, and 10,000 is just not enough when the market is exploding and there's so many more people that want in. And when the prices are so high, they need to find some other way for people to be able to get in. So maybe I think with the DAOs, they're going to be releasing a bunch of DAO tokens at various prices, and that might allow people to be in. Or with the Meta Hero companions, they might be cheaper priced, but
They'll figure it out. We got it. They'll find a way.
Yeah, they'll find a way. And it's almost like it's reached too big to fail point now, where the community who is invested in it and involved in it, they're so attached and involved that not many people are going to be willing to undercut the floor and sell. And I mean, we saw that, I think, shortly after they minted out at 0.2, and then the floor quickly shot to like 0.3-ish, 0.35. And it just kind of sat there for a few weeks. And, no one was really undercutting quickly to get out. And that's usually another pretty strong sign that a project is doing well. VFriends did the same thing, where their floor sat at maybe 5-6 ETH for, I would say, a month and a half. Like, I was tracking it every single day, and by far the least movement was always VFriends. It was like no one was buying, but no one was selling and undercutting either. I mean, some people were buying, but yeah, it was just stable, and that's a really strong sign. And obviously now it's shut up. Punk's comic has shut up. A lot of things have shut up. Who knows if it can keep going? I'm bullish, I guess, on Punk's comic. In terms of Bloot and B-Gold and all that kind of stuff, I don't know. I think that Beanie is one of the best in the space in creating value and finding ways to provide value to things he attaches his name to. And so while I don't necessarily always agree with his tactics and his Twitter persona, I can't deny the fact that he knows how to create value, and he is, for better or worse, attached himself to Bloot and B-Gold. And I think that he's going to figure out a way to create value. Whether it's a good buy, I don't even know what the prices are at the moment. So whether it's a good buy now or was a good buy before, who knows? But I mean, I have one Bloot and some B-Gold, and I guess I didn't want to have zero exposure to that, because I think there's some value in it long term. But yeah, who knows?
And is that something that obviously there's so many projects going on. There's only so much time in a day, but Beanie says, hey, Bloot, and you're saying, look, I don't have the time to sit here and do a deep dive into the data. You're a data guy. I'm going to pick up one or two just to make sure I'm in this project. And if it goes to zero, I have enough wins under my belt that I could sustain that hit.
Yeah, basically, that's exactly what I did. I think there's quite a few projects where I feel that way, where, I mean, it's just impossible to stay on top of even a tenth of the projects out there at the moment. When I first got in 6 months ago, you could kind of stay on top of basically every big project. There were maybe a dozen. And then it got to the point a couple of months ago where, all right, you couldn't stay on top of anywhere close to every project. But if you picked a sector, if you said, all right, I want to be really on top of gaming NFTs, you could do that. I don't think you can even do that anymore. Like, there's too many gaming NFTs, there's too many avatar projects, there's too many art projects. You just can't stay on top of even a sector. You just have to pick a handful that you really want to stay on top of, do deep dives into, invest in, and then with your spare time, I think, like, I track the market and have an overview of the market, but then I'll probably look into a couple of projects each day and try to find new gems and new things to buy. And then there's upcoming projects too. It's really there's a lot of projects, but there's a lot of opportunities. And yeah, so I end up doing a lot of buying just based on gut and instinct at this point. But I understand that's come from 6 months, which is 10 years in this space of experience. So it's hard to teach or explain.
One of the questions we have is, do you recommend buying secondary as a beginner or focus on minting?
It's a good question. I think The problem with minting at the moment is that there are just insane gas wars for a lot of projects. But there is sort of a workaround where more and more projects are now finding ways to circumvent the gas wars by giving away like mint passes or selling mint passes, which essentially gives the right to mint 1 or 2 or 5 NFTs. And they do that to early supporters, people in the Discord, or to people who win raffles and things like that. So I think getting involved in Discords and following them on Twitter and if you can get in without the crazy gas war, then that's probably your best bet. And if you have the time, again, hustling Discords is the best way to make money. It also will help you understand the space a bit more. I would say that's probably the best. And the second best would be buying secondary. And then third best would be trying to, like, these gas wars are crazy. I know people that have been in for months and they still fail and they still can't get their mints through. And like they don't have enough gas, or they put in too low amount and they try and cancel, and it's and now with the costs being so high, even failed transactions can be 0.1 ETH or 0.2 ETH, which is ludicrous. And it's just a high risk game that I wouldn't really recommend to a newcomer. But I think secondary, there are a lot of great opportunities, and I would be looking for sort of what I was talking about earlier, projects which have been around for a while, have had a floor price that's either dropped, dripping, like slowly bleeding, or staying the same, but has a strong community and new holders are buying into the project, and unique owners are going up. And again, join their Discord and see if people are like, if the team is working, delivering on the roadmap, building, if the community is strong and focused on being a good community and not just the price. Like some Discords you'll join and everyone's like telling people to delist and to not panic and come on, we just need 5 more buys and the floor will go up, and think about what the price will be in 2 months. You want people to talk about what the community will be like in 2 months, not the price. And then those are the good projects. And yeah, there are some gems out there. It's actually a good chance for me to talk about a project that I'm starting today or tomorrow, which someone on Twitter suggested a 1 ETH challenge. So basically, I will fund a new wallet with 1 ETH and then, see what I would do. What would I buy? What would I sell? And I really have been thinking about it because it's been a while since my bankroll has been at 1 ETH. It started there, a while back, but the landscape has changed, and gas is crazy. So I would really need to think hard about what I buy and why. But yeah, so I will be starting that this week, and I'm going to post updates in my Discord, like what I'm buying or like why I bought / sold certain things and things like that. Yeah, probably not in real time, of course, but yeah, it's something that I'm going to be doing, and I think a lot of people have shown a lot of interest in something like that. So I don't know how successful or if it will be successful. Obviously, NFTs are risky. There's a lot more projects now than when I first got in. A lot of projects aren't going to be winners. So, I mean, I think I have every chance of just failing and losing the 1 ETH. But hopefully it's successful, and hopefully, more than anything, people learn some stuff from it. I'm sure I will learn some stuff from it. And I think it'll be fun. Like, it's kind of exciting for me to try this thing.
I love it, and we'll want to track that closely and have you back on the show in a few weeks or months once the experiment is over, and you can tell us how it went. That'll be epic.
Yeah, it could be a short thing if I buy something tomorrow and just
One last question I have for you is, as far as we obviously speak to people on a weekly basis, a lot of different opinions. What is going to be the metaverse? How big is it going to be? This is the future. Like, what's your take on this? Is this some, obviously you're a believer that this is the future. You made a statement that you said, hey, 70% of avatar projects are going to fail, but 30% are going to be around, which I think is probably the highest percentage I've heard to date. But what does NFTs look like in 3 to 5 years in your mind?
I think that almost any industry you can conceive of will involve NFTs one way or another. I think that just the whole world is going to be revolutionized. I think that we're moving more and more into the digital age every week, every year, every month, every day. The younger generation is spending more time online. Our generation's we're spending a lot of time online. Everyone is just spending more time online. And the online world is moving more and more into the blockchain space and understanding the power and value of, decentralization, of Ethereum, of other chains, and the value in being able to transact, across the globe in a decentralized, trustless manner. And I think as time goes on, more and more people will adopt blockchains. And as that happens, more and more people will adopt NFTs. And so at the moment, we see a lot of avatar projects, a lot of art, a lot of gaming projects, but we haven't seen yet mass adoption of music NFTs. That's going to be huge. Artists will want their songs to be NFTs so they get immediate royalties whenever anyone listens, for example. Currently, say Spotify is not a very rewarding place for most artists, and NFTs can change that. We're going to see everything's going to be NFTs, like real estate, houses, the deeds will be NFTs. Education, your diplomas, your university degrees, that'll be NFTs. So you can just, instead of having to carry on, like my fiance, we moved to Germany a couple of years ago, and she had to prove to the employment office and stuff about her history and stuff, and she had to stack of paperwork. If she just had an NFT that she could prove that was hers, true ownership, etc., it just makes that much simpler. And 3 to 5 years, probably not for that. That might be a 10 to 20 year type thing. But music, movies, games, everything NFTs, everything NFTs.
Everything.
You're bullish.
Yeah, to say the least.
Everything NFTs. And if people want to learn about everything NFTs and the content that you're putting out, I know you have a podcast, you have a newsletter, you have a Discord group. How do people find out about you and more information? Where should they go?
My Twitter is probably the best page. I have in my Twitter profile a link to the podcast, newsletter, and Discord, and then that's pretty much everything at the moment. So you can find, there it is.
Well, before we let you go, and I know I learned a lot, we're gonna have to put you on the spot. I asked you what's your favorite NFT. I'm gonna rephrase my question. 3 different categories: gaming, profile picture projects, and art. Give me 1 to 3 in each category.
Oh, 1 to 3 in each category. All right, I can do that. Profile picture, my avatar ape is got to be my number 1. Well, I've just used that as my avatar for so long that I don't really have any others now. So I think I really like Blitmaps. They just released their Blitnaut avatars, which not a lot of people have been using, but I think we're going to see a bit more of that. So I'm just going to use that as number 2 and not have a third one. I'll go with Gutter Cat Gang. I have some that I minted, and I really love one of them, especially.
No punks? No punks.
I have no punks.
But what is your take on punks just being around?
Oh, wait, were you asking what are my top 3 projects or what are my top 3 NFTs?
I mean, now it's 2 different questions.
Yeah.
No, top 3. Give me 3 to 5 years. What are the top 3?
Okay, yeah.
What are the top 3 projects in each category that you see that are going to be,
All right. Punks, apes, and there's such a big gap after that. What am I going to say? I'll just go Cool Cats. I think they're doing a lot of cool things. Yeah. And then for gaming, Zedrun, Axie, and I'll say Voxies, because they have a great team and great product, and they've been working really hard. But there's tons of other great gaming projects that are also great. I'm just not as involved or knowledgeable about them. And then for art blocks. I'm that bullish on them. There's a reason they're 90% of my portfolio, or 80% or something. Yeah.
I know Stanley said last question, but let's go to art blocks. You think people should just go curate the next curated block? Is that the strategy, or is there something else?
Good luck with the gas wars.
Well, no, they do a Dutch auction now, so there's not really much of a gas war for the curated, for any drops really. So the Dutch auction is where they'll start at say 10 ETH, and then every 5 minutes it'll drop, and eventually gets to a price where people are happy to pay. So the most recent one sold out. Mostly it had 1,000 mints, half sold at 2.5 ETH, half sold at 2 ETH, and there wasn't much of a gas war. So that's obviously the price is still quite high and inaccessible to a lot. Would I recommend anyone just goes out now and buys art blocks. I think if you were to buy art blocks, curated is the safest bet. It's just most blue chip in art blocks. So I had a lot of people asking me this, say a month ago when art blocks was going crazy. And my advice was basically it's run up so much in the last couple of months. It's risky to buy now. But if you're okay with holding for a couple of years, I think that art blocks art is going to outperform most other assets and probably most other NFTs. So yeah, I mean, obviously not financial advice, but I started buying some more art blocks again this last week, or last couple of days rather, just because it's come down, 50, 70% for some collections since the massive peak of 2-3 weeks ago. And maybe it drips some more, but I think that because I'm so bullish long term, I'm happy to hold. If it goes down and dips more, I'm happy to hold for a year, 2, 5, 10 years. Like they're set up to be around literally hundreds of years from now. As long as the Ethereum blockchain is around, more or less, art blocks will live on. And yeah.
I actually learned about you through a buddy of mine who was trying to convince me to buy a Chromie Squiggle, and he sent me a link to your blog post talking about the speed of your Chromie, and I did purchase one. So shout out to you for that one.
Excellent. I'm glad. Yeah. I'm actually, my next newsletter post is probably going to be on art blocks and coming out later this week because it's been 2 months ish since my last one, and so much has happened that it's due for an update.
Well, we look forward to reading it, Zenica. It's been a real pleasure to have you on Goats in the Metaverse. It's great to have people with your wisdom being shared so openly and building up the NFT community. So really grateful to have you on, and look forward to seeing art blocks going up and up and up, and you being the benefactor of that.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Thanks, Zenica. Everybody make sure to follow Zenica on Twitter and hit him up in the Discord. We'll hope to see you soon on the show again. Talk soon.
Sure.
I learned a lot.
Yeah,
each time
I wrote down some notes. I learned a bit as well, and I love the process. I love the way he thinks about his approach to the market, how open he is, and shares all of the knowledge that he has, and has become a true believer in the space. And he's in it for the long term. So that's the kind of people we want to have on Goats in the Metaverse, and hopefully we'll have him back on when we see that one ETH project, where it goes from here. As well as more wisdom that he can share as he learns and navigates the space. What I really like, though, is he got in 6 months ago. It's not too late. He started with very little amount of ETH, gave you good advice on how you can navigate it, found value, created value, started sharing information, and became someone in the space and kind of just crafted that himself. Didn't ask for any permission, just came into it and started doing stuff. And anyone has that opportunity, which is why I love this industry so much.
No, absolutely. And every single week we have a different guest. We're hearing the same things: community. And we're seeing it, right? Like you could go hit up an influencer on Twitter and ask a question. If they see your question, most likely they'll answer. And you jump into Discord, you have a question, people are going to engage and help you out. And those are the communities that you want to be buying NFTs of, right? Where they are helpful, they are believers, they do believe in the long term. Obviously Zenica has a financial investment in art blocks, but he really believes in it, right? He says, hey, if they fall tomorrow, I'm holding because I believe in the art and I love the art. And to me, I thought the best part was he said, he doesn't wake up at night selling those 3 fidenzas. I know I would. I think he's a better person than I am. Well,
a reminder for everyone to subscribe to the show. We have the Goat Vault, currently valued at almost $34,000. We're adding new NFTs into the vault every single week, and you can stand a chance to win the contents of that vault once we get to 5,000 subscribers. So share the love, share the show, tell your friends, subscribe, and you could be minting or winning some pretty epic NFTs that we have in the collection. You heard Zenica say that one of his top 3 was a cool cat. We have a cool cat in the vault. So come on, subscribe, and be part of this community. It's the way we get to grow this NFT world and share the knowledge with all of you.
Yossi, always a pleasure. we'll see you again next week for another great episode of Goats in the Metaverse. And what could happen in a week? Like,
It'll be
so
boring. There won't be
dull.
much.
Like nothing is gonna happen. Nothing. Like zero. We're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna talk about. Thanks everybody for joining. We'll see you all next week.